Cruz and Aaron Theus.
Oh, no, not now.
I just figured.
All right. Hello and happy holidays, everyone. Welcome to the Denver Society of the Archaeological Institute of America's December lecture. My name is Eric DeMarsh. I'm the president of the Denver chapter of the Archaeological Institute of America's Denver Society. For everyone who is new to our public lecture series, I'd like to say a few words about who we are. The Archaeological Institute of America is North America's oldest and largest archaeology association. The Institute is a nonprofit group founded in 1879 and chartered by the United States Congress in 1906. Today, the AIA has nearly 210,000 members and more than 100 local societies like ours in the United States, Canada, and overseas. Our membership includes professional and academic archaeologists, students, and enthusiasts of all ages. The AIA publishes Archaeology Magazine, which is full of the latest archaeological discoveries, as well as the American Journal of Archaeology, a peer-reviewed professional journal. If you're interested in becoming a member and or receiving these publications, you can find more on our website, which is aiadenver.org. As we're a nonprofit, if you enjoyed today's lecture, do consider a small donation. The Denver Society of the AIA was established in 1903, which makes it one of the oldest in the nation. Under normal circumstances, we'd be co-hosting you with our friends at Denver Public Library, but as this is unfeasible, we have taken the opportunity to bring you lecturers from further abroad. Today, we are lucky to welcome a personal friend and colleague, Mr. Abdul Hafiz Latifi. Mr. Latifi is currently a PhD scholar at the Department of Archaeology and Ancient History at MS University of Baroda. He holds a BA in Archaeology from Aristotle University in Thessaloniki and an MA in Ancient History, Culture, and Archaeology from the University of Allahabad. He has worked as a curator at the National Museum of Afghanistan and is a current member of the Archaeology Institute of Afghanistan, the other AIA. Latifi is an expert in Central and South Asian archaeology with a primary area of interest in pre- and proto-historic archaeology relating to Bronze Age Afghanistan and trade within the neighboring regions. If you have any questions, please save them for the end and we'll have some time to ask them. And you can do that by, if you click on participants, you'll see in the lower right corner of the participants box that pops up a button that says raise hand. So when question time comes, if you want to click raise hand, we'll call on you and unmute you individually. Without further ado, I'll hand this over to Mr. Latifi.
Let me share my screen as well then. Hello everyone, thank you so much Mr. Drake for introduction. It is my honor and pleasure to be part of your online event of the Denver Society of Archaeological Institute of America. I wish and happy holidays for all of you and a belated Merry Christmas for those who are celebrating. So it was a good idea to select this topic related to the history and culture of Afghanistan, what is the, as it says, the title, Afghanistan during the Bronze Age, trade and cultural contact with the neighboring regions. So within this, I would like to thank Mr. Eric for inviting me here and giving me this opportunity to share my ideas based on the literature sources and previous archaeological researches in this region, particularly in this period with people who may interest in this. So I'm sure that you are all interested in this as you have joined here. So I welcome all of you in today's talk. Directly, I'm going to the, oh yes. So for our today's lecture, I have separated my talk into these topics, like an introduction, a brief geographic profile of Afghanistan and previous research on the Bronze Age Chalcolithic cultures in Afghanistan, Bangladesh in southern and northern Afghanistan. That currently we have some information from these both areas, and also at the end discussions. I didn't put a conclusion because we cannot conclude with a brief introduction or a brief lecture about the forensic of Afghanistan. It needs further investigations and analysis of the data, as I will tell you later on about this. So coming to the introduction part, the region of modern-day Afghanistan, owing its favorable location along the Silk Road, served as the crossroad of ancient world. In addition, the presence and abandoning resources such as tin, copper, lapis lazuli, and other natural sources attracted traders and conquerors alike since ancient times. The region located in the center of 4 ecological zones spread across Central and South Asia has revealed an extreme density of archaeological sites, each with distinct culture and artistic characteristics that exhibit evidence of multitudinous interregional connections. Since the year 1950, archaeological investigations, although limited, have successfully revealed the flourishing of early Chalcolithic settlements in the region. The early Chalcolithic settlements have been characterized by Schaffer as to belonging to the late prehistoric periods of Afghanistan. Further studies have also established that during this period, raw materials such as lapis lazuli, even as early as 7th millennium BC, and tin were exported from Afghanistan to areas of other great civilizations of the ancient world, such as South Asia, Egypt, Mediterranean coast, Mesopotamia, and Greece. Archaeological evidences from Afghanistan reveals that objects datable to this period shared motifs and other similarities with objects produced by neighboring regions such as Indus Valley Civilization, Eastern Iran, Central Asia, and deep inside the mainland India's Chalcolithic age culture beyond the boundaries of Indus civilization such as Pahar culture. In order to understand the late prehistoric periods of Afghanistan, it is essential to have a look at some general but very significant aspects of prehistoric periods, as rightly pointed out by Schaffer, that human occupation of the modern area of Afghanistan has a considerable antiquity, and these indigenous hunters and gatherers were constantly undergone socio-cultural changes in response to their ecological contingencies. Therefore, this fundamental background of human inhabitation in this region allow us to examine and explain the later prehistoric culture development as an indigenous process rather than to attribute them to the movement of people and trades from the areas in which of Afghanistan. So for better understanding the culture past of Afghanistan during this period, it is essential to have a brief look on the physiography of Afghanistan, which has played an important role in the trade and also in the formation of the cultures and also the early civilizations in this region. Geographically, Afghanistan is a landlocked country. The mountainous regions covers 2/3 of Afghanistan. The geographical formation of Afghanistan is diverse. In spite of ventures of some environmentalists, it seems clear that there has been little or no geographic change in these geographical factors of Afghanistan over the past 7,000 years. The Hindu Kush mountain divides Afghanistan into 3 distinct geographic regions: the Central Highlands, the Northern Plains, and the Southern Plateaus. The major rivers in Afghanistan are Amudarya, or Oxus River, flows across the northern part of the country and forms the frontier between Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. The Helmand River, which flows towards the southern part of Afghanistan and empties into the seasonal lake in Sistan. The Harirut River flows westward to the south of Herat, and after irrigating the fertile lands of the valley, turns north and forms the border between Afghanistan and Iran, and then crosses into Turkmenistan and disappears in the Karakum Desert. Another major river is Kabul River, which flows eastward and joins the Indus River in its final stage. A significant feature of modern Afghanistan is the diversity methods of subsistence strategies practiced, which included nomadism, hunting and gathering, and settled agriculture. Due to its strong belief, different environments can be found relatively close to each other. This feature would have been particularly helpful to prehistoric populations with their limited technology and small-sized groups. It must have also been important at time of adverse climate conditions, since prehistoric population could always move from areas with deteriorating climate condition to more favorable ones without the need to move very far. This variety of habitats is a feature that is likely to have encouraged trade and exchange within the country. With this brief introduction, we are going to the introduction of the geography of Afghanistan. We are going to enter about the previous research on the Bronze Age Chalcolithic cultures in modern day Afghanistan. Studies on the artifactual assemblage of the Indus Valley civilization and the Bronze Age cultures in Iran and Central Asia have highlighted certain similarities and also suggested interregional interaction between them. The region of modern Afghanistan, which lay along these lines of communications, may have served as a transit zone between these aforesaid focal points of early civilizations in the region. These integral factors attracted archaeologists to explore the archaeological potential of the region during the Bronze Age Chalcolithic period in Afghanistan. Archaeological investigation on the Bronze Age Chalcolithic period in Afghanistan resulted in unveiling of the existence of multiple Bronze Age Chalcolithic settlements such as Mundigak, Morasi, Gundai, and Said Kala in the south, and Chalcolithic Bronze Age labels at Aforesaid, and then Bronze Age sites such as Topekilul, Dashni Wasis, Arpapat, and Shotohai in the north. Since then, more than 50 sites belonging to this period have been identified but never excavated. For the better explanation of the aforesaid sites, it has been divided into southern and northern Afghanistan. Bronze Age Chalcolithic sites in southern Afghanistan. At present, our knowledge for the area of southern Afghanistan comes from the excavations at three sites: Mundigak, Morasi, Gundai, and Said Latifi. Although limited, but the artifactual assemblage recovered from the excavation is sufficient to indicate that southern Afghanistan is an important area for understanding the emergence of stratified societies or urban centers and for comprehending the cultural process which affected the neighboring areas. The three sites provided information for understanding the cultural process linking the area of Balochistan and the Indus Valley to former Soviet Central and Eastern Iran. So in this case, Afghanistan played a significant role in this line of communication or interaction. A brief introduction of these sites is worthy to mention. Although not in detail, but in order to know what happened, who excavated the site and when it was excavated and what are the cultural sequences. Mundigak. The site of Mundigak is situated about 55 kilometers to the northeast of modern city of Kandahar. The site comprises a series of mounds which was subjected to field field work from 1950 to 58, 1950 to 58 by James Gazel of Jaffa and his team. The Bronze Age Chalcolithic level at the site have been divided into 5 periods. Chronologically, these periods represent a time span of approximately 3,000 years, right from the beginning of the 4th to sometime in the 2nd millennium BC. During this time span, Mundigak developed from a small agricultural village from period 1 to 3 to a major urban centers and to period 4 to 5, and was subsequently abandoned during the Iron Age. So here is the dates which were suggested by Schaffer. The chronology of Mundigak is as follows. Here are some examples of some of the examples of the archaeological objects which have been discovered here. Painted pottery, similar to those in the Indo-Iranian borderland, and here is an aerial photography of the site after the excavation. So these pottery are, especially these three, are housed at the Gimi Museum. Coming to another site here, in this so here is the some example of the Mundigak pottery from the period 4, period 1. So coming to another site, this which is site Latifi, is located some approximately 100 kilometers southeast of Mundigak, near Kandahar city. The site is not comparable to Mundigak in terms of its size, as it is a small size site, somehow like 200 meters in diameter. The site was first excavated by Morasi in 1952. However, the major excavations were conducted by Schaffer almost 20 years later, in 1971 to 72. Based on the C14 dates and cultural materials recovered at the site, 3 periods of occupation, respectively period 1 to 3, have been identified, which are essentially similar to those of Mundigak period 3 to 4. The Morasi is another site in the southern Afghanistan, which is also some 16 kilometers southwest of Site Kala. It's only about half size of the site of Site Kala. The excavation here undertaken by Tobre in 1963, which resulted in the identification of 4 major occupation periods. Morasi is later than Site Kala and represents Mundigak 4 type of occupation. I mean period 4 of Mundigak. The limited nature of excavation undertaken here prevent the delineation of any structures. The major occupation at Morasi was period 2, which is divided into 3 phases, A to C. The only architectural feature of significance found in the excavation was recorded from period 2A. This was a small mud brick structure, trapezoidal in shape, with the following artifacts in association: ceramic female figurine, copper tube and seal, goat spoon and horn, and pottery. The excavator interprets this structure as a household shrine. Here is this household shrine. So coming to the north part of Afghanistan, our information from about the Bronze Age Chalcolithic period for the northern Afghanistan comes from a series of sites such as Chalcolithic Bronze Age level of Garimar, the Bronze Age assemblage of the Biflul, the Shriwatis, and Farukabad, and finally Shotabai. For the understanding of the nature of Bronze Age in this area, brief introduction of the sites are worthy to mention. Garimar, or a snake cave, or Akkobrok 1. The site is located in Balkh province, where a series of rock shelters were identified. Excavation here was conducted in 4 localities: The site was excavated by Dobre and his team between 1962 to 65 as part of his Paleolithic research, and it was designated as a Kobrok 1. During the course of the excavation, besides the other occupational phases, Paleolithic and Neolithic phases, the excavator identified the Chalcolithic bronze age level with the presence of copper, but not bronze. However, the chemical analysis and other scientific analysis of these metal artifacts in 1972 by Kelly clearly indicates that its composition was a lot in bronze. Two C14 dates obtained from these levels give a date of 5,487 and 5,291. This appears to be the earliest dates of use of metal artifacts in northern Afghanistan. Another site is Tapi Fulur, is located in Baghlan province. A hoard consisting of 5 gold and 12 silver vessels were discovered in 1966 by some farmers and subsequently confiscated by the government officials. Excavation here revealed the discovery of an inhumation burial. Unfortunately, it was not possible to connect the hoard with this burial since the latter did not contain any artifact, and thus the chronology is debatable. Further, the assemblage does not appear to be a homogeneous one and suggests different manufacturing techniques. In addition, their decorative patterns vary, with a few suggestions closer affinity with the sites Turkmenistan and Balochistan, and a few others with sites in Mesopotamia and Elam in Iran. Based on these similarities, a tentative date of 2600 to 2400 BC has been proposed by the scholars about this discovery or about this find. Another site is the Dashli Oasis. This Dashli Oasis is 10 in number and was excavated by Saryanidi as a part of the team of Afghan Soviet nation between 1969 to 1974. Out of them, Dashli 1 and Dashli 3 provided much information. The excavation revealed architectural features such as rectangular and circular buildings, circular and semicircular towers, and fortification wall made of mud brick. In addition, each settlement was divided with multiple rooms, multiple living rooms and housekeeping quarters, which was separated by small streets and often grouped around an inner courtyard. Artifactual finds include bronze weapon, jewelry, and ceramics comparable to those grey wares of Turkmenistan and northeastern Iran. A date of late Bronze Age was suggested to these sites. The other finds included lithic, a compartmented seal made of stone, ceramic, and metal artifacts, and stone beads. So Saryanidi suggested this is part of DMAC, Factor Margin Archaeological Complex, which other sites has been identified in Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. So this is the southern part of the this DMAC culture. Or later on, it was suggested that it belongs to the Oghuz civilization, which I am coming later to. Another important site in northern Afghanistan is Chortoghai. Chortoghai is located in northeastern Afghanistan. The discovery of Chortoghai by J.C. Garden of Jaffa and his team in 1975 has been a landmark in the Bronze Age archaeological research in Afghanistan. Later on, it was excavated for 4 seasons from 1976 to 1979 by Henry Paul Frankfurt and his team, and the results have been fully published in 1989. It is a very small site with shallow, not more than 2.5-meter culture deposits and is divided into two main mounds, Mount A and B. From the first published report by the excavator, it was clear that that there was mature Harappan settlement there, located far from plains of the Indus Valley. The discovery of Chalcolithic has a profound implication for any understanding of the scope of Harappan activities outside the geographical boundaries of the greater Indus Valley, as well as its later connections with the Central Asian cultures. At first, only Mount A was particularly occupied in period 1. Slowly, the settlement expanded, covering the whole of the two mounts A and B in period 2 and 3. In the final period, which is period 4, only parts of the Mount B was inhabited. The final phase of occupation for period 4 at the site shows evidence of Malawi and Bishkin culture, marking the coming of various people in the site. Period 1 is very important, which is according to the, it has been identified with the early mature Harappan or Indus around 2500 to 2400. According to excavator, this first group of settlers, they arrived well equipped with their original cultural material sets, such as architecture, pottery, arts and crafts, plants and animals, and they immediately cultivated the lands on their terraces near their buildings. The C14 date obtained from this period is in the end of 3rd millennium BC. In this period, the Harappan elements identified include seals, carnelian beads, and classical Harappan ceramic shapes such as jars, plates, basins, dishon stand, rusticated wares, and perforated jars. In addition, painted ceramics such as black on red with typical Harappan motifs were also recovered. Besides this, the presence of some trace of copper indicates the metalworking at the site and probably even smelting. Copper artifacts were also recovered from this site. Also, the presence of various industrial debris such as lapis lazuli, bronze slags, and bronze pottery, which are mostly concentrated in this mount, Mount A, according to the excavator and Dobre. It seems that this Mount A was an area of combined artisans, workshops, and residential area, much like modern Afghan bazaars. Houses were made of mud brick of Harappan standard size. So period 2 is similar to period 1 in terms of artifacts and assemblages, but gradual change could be observed towards the end of this period or transition to period 3. This period is called late mature Harappan by Fossils. During this period, evidence for the working of lapis lazuli stops and does not appear after period 1. However, metallurgy continues. This seems to have been extension of settlement as in period both in Mount A and B. The period 3 of the analysis of material culture of this period was proven difficult due to the lack of a signal stratigraphic context in the settlement, that because the settlement moved from Mount A to B during this time. This period was defined by the excavator as an intensification of the local elements, and according to Dobre, this is not a strange phenomenon, as we can see the outsiders, means the Harappan people, shifted their ways of lives, at least in the economic sphere, to adapt the local conditions. Thus, the Harappan colonists would have had to adjust from a semi-tropical climate zone to a semi-arid zone. In the period 4 of this site, it is a composite and does not reflect a single culture, but a real occupational horizon marking the coming of the various people in this site. This final period is recognized as Morali and Vishkan culture. A burial belonging to this culture was dug into the base of the already abandoned Indus Mount, means Mount A. The final occupation could be dated 17,000 to 515, 1,700 to 1,500 BC. According to Dopre, the culture at Chortokai seems to have evolved a drastic interruption, but the apparent abrupt abandonment of the site remains a mystery. Also, the absence of palace, temple, or citadel is very problematic, and without such points, any settlement without social, religious, and political institution would be a premature. So here is a map of the which many scholars suggested that it is a Harappan outpost or a colonial site of the Harappan civilization in the Central Asia. But at the same time, there are other cultures here, like there's Dashli Wasis and other like this Pima civilizations arising in this time. But here, why these Harappans, what they are doing there, and some suggestions have been done that they were there to control the Lapis trade or mining activities there. But if we, for example, here I have just probably just put some distance, like using this Google map and other things. From the forest, I mean, one is the from Mohenjo-Daro to Chortokai is 1,114 kilometers, and same with the other side. But what is the thing that Sarisan and Chortokai, the distance between Chortokai and Sarisan, which is the Lapis mine, is 167 kilometers. So here, if these people were going here for the mining activities, so there must be other sites in this area which has been not discovered, for the whole theory of this colonization or mining activities will, because at the site, not too much of the, raw material has been found to indicate this theory. So maybe with later theories and investigations, this view will change. So before going to the discussion part, it is worthy to mention and the opinion of Cole and Leonid, Mr. Philip Cole and Leonid, Bertil Leonid, in their paper, in one of their paper published in 2008. Their opinion is like that the people movement into areas already occupied and assimilated with the cultures with which they come into contact. Movement of people or migration constitute one important mechanism for establishing and maintaining interregional connection. Another primary mechanism, of course, is the exchange or circulation of goods, which can take different forms, including gift exchange or marriage alliance or market rates driven by the principle of supply and demand and directed by the margins. And also, it's worthy to mention, which is rightly pointed out by Warwick Paul in his book, The Monument of Afghanistan, that in the past, Afghanistan saw the rise of the cities and civilization that compared with the better known ones to the north, west, and east. Much of its remains hidden in Afghanistan, where major archaeological discoveries are still to be gained and are still to be made. Even much of this information that is known remains hidden in specialist academic publications, accessible only to the scholars. The region of Afghanistan holds the key to much of the movement of people truths and ideas in antiquity as well as in the origin and spread of civilizations in Iran and India and Central Asia. So coming into discussion part, despite the presence of Bronze Chalcolithic sites, very little is known about the culture antiquity of the region. Means Afghanistan, or of the period between 4th millennium BC to the 2nd millennium BC. Archaeological investigations on the most sites in the region reveals that methodologies adopted by archaeologists were inadequate toward generating or a comprehensive understanding of the past. Another thing is that no studies have been conducted to understand the culture of this period in the central Afghanistan. There is no research in central Afghanistan in order to understand the nature of the trade inside the country. So in the context of Afghanistan, unfortunately, there is no single site like Mehergarh in Balochistan of Pakistan nowadays, which has revealed continuous culture sequence from the early food production societies till the emergence of stratified societies. In addition, although the earliest evidence of the use of metal as seen from the site of Karimar can be dated to the 6th millennium BC, there is a gap of nearly 2 millennia before we see the emergence of Chalcolithic cultures in the region. These shortcomings have limited our understanding of the cultural significance of this period, along with issues concerning the origin and development of civilization in Afghanistan. However, a few archaeologists argue that Afghanistan appeared to have passed through similar stages and process of civilization as in the case of Indus Valley civilization, Mesopotamia, and Shari-Sof in Iran and other neighboring regions, and they have suggested concepts such as Helmand civilization for the southern Afghanistan and part of Iran, like Mundigak, the culture of Mundigak with Shari-Sof and other sites. Although the distance between Shari-Sof and Mundigak is like around 400 kilometers, but in between there are many sites to be discovered, yet there is no discovery. So some scholars like Tosi, they have suggested this name of Helmand civilization, and recently many papers have been published in this in order to discuss the role of these two sites in the formation process, because the earliest days come from these two sites, and they have played a significant role in the process of. So one thing we have to clarify that when we are talking about the past cultures, we have to forget about the present boundaries. For example, maybe this Mundigak here with Shari-Sof here, they were in the same culture too, because here the Hindu Kush would separate the northern part of Afghanistan, northern Afghanistan with the southern. So that's why we have to forget about the modern boundaries when we are studying the culture. And the BMAC or Bacter Martin Archaeological Complex suggested by Sorianity for the artifacts, assemblages for the sites which has been found in Bactria and also in Margiana or Murd in Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. And all this suggestion of BMAC is by Sorianity, and also there is another name for this area which has been suggested by Henry Paul Frankfurt, which is the Oxford civilization. Still, there are many debates about these terminologies and nomenclature of their cultures in this area. In this context, there is a need to re-examine the Chalcolithic Bronze cultures in Afghanistan and their relationship with the contemporary civilization in the neighboring region. In the light of the aforesaid factors, it may be not wrong to cite Shepard, who state that there are two categories of problems with regards to the Chalcolithic Bronze Age cultures in Afghanistan. Firstly, methodological and chronological, and secondly, problems connected with the cultural process. So within this limitation of research inside Afghanistan, so it shows a lot of similarities with the neighboring region and definitely played a significant role in the communication route in this time. So we need further investigations, and we have to find some other archaeological sites belonging to this period and to excavate them in the future in order to find some of the mysteries which are, or some of unsolved question, because these old data and excavations are done like 50, 60 years back. So nowadays, if we will start to excavate a new site, so with the modern technology and with the new methodologies of archaeological excavation, we may be able to find some of the unsolved questions in regard to the cultural process in this region. And also the nomenclature is very important. Here are some of the reference for those who want to have a look about this, about the Bronze Age of Afghanistan. There are many, only I have put a few which are important. So thank you so much. Thank you very much. Hopefully I have, with this brief introduction and also brief explanation of the Bronze Age of Afghanistan, would have been able to give you a general idea about the cultural process. Although there are a lot of debates and also discussions between scholars, so that because of the time limit, we cannot discuss all those aspects. And also towards the size, the size, there are a lot of material to be mentioned and a lot of things to say about one particular site, but due to the time limit and it needs a lot of, maybe some people are not from archaeology background here, it will be very tough for them to understand all those terminologies and also analysis of the data. So for this, I just was very brief about the introduction of the site. Once again, thank you so much for hearing me, and thank you so much, Mr. Eric, for inviting me. Because most of the lectures and conferences which are happening is about the cultural heritage preservation in Afghanistan and Buddhist archaeology in Afghanistan recently, and even in the past time also, most of the focus was in the research of the Hellenistic period of Afghanistan, and nowadays everyone is involved in the Buddhist archaeology of Afghanistan, which is very essential and very important. And also heritage site preservation, but at the same time, we expect some paper. No one is interested in the. If they are interested, there are a lot of limitations. So hopefully, in the future, we will be able to excavate a new site of heritage in Afghanistan, which definitely is not the end of the work with these few sites which I have explained. So as I say that. After 1950, so inside in the exploration and surveys, more than 50 sites identified and based on the surface collection belong to this period. So maybe in the future we will be able to find some added and some collaboration with some other universities to excavate some of those sites. Although this Buddhist archaeology is essential and necessary, but at the same time, if people want to know, the cultural history of the Central Asia and South Asia and this interaction, communication between them. So the very comprehensive study of the cultural material inside Afghanistan, or at least a re-examination of the culture objects which are housed at the National Museum of Afghanistan, is worthy to work on them. So thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much. That was very interesting. I see we have a few applaud emojis. If anyone has any questions, click on participants, and in the lower right corner of the participants window, you'll see a option to raise your hand.
Yeah,
Click on that, and then we can call on people individually. If there's any questions or comments or thoughts.
And maybe now it's actually time for people to turn on the cameras. So the
yeah, here in India and Afghanistan, the time is like almost 2 o'clock. Oh, yeah.
I actually have a question. I can't start until while everybody else is still turning on their cameras and thinking. I actually have a couple of questions about the. So you actually talk about Bronze Age and Chalcolithic, and you basically put all of them together. And my question is why you do that, and first, and then why do you actually use Bronze Age / Chalcolithic? And I'm familiar with the Portuguese and Spanish archaeology where we use the same terminology, and Chalcolithic it's 4th millennium and Bronze Age it's later. So we usually do it the other way around. So my question is, first of all, why do you put them together, and why not, if you need to put them together, why not Chalcolithic and / Bronze Age? Because
Bronze Age, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are totally right in this terminology, but in different regions it is different. Like in the case of Afghanistan, I have heard Bronze Age Chalcolithic because in some of the sites, like we get the later date for the Chalcolithic because those pastoral nomads which have moved, I mean, which they were not able to change their way of life, so they remain still. I mean, we get some later date for Chalcolithic periods and also the Bronze Age. Like in some areas in Afghanistan, like for example in northern Afghanistan, before like as I mentioned that Chalcolithic phase of the Harimar in that cave, so it was not a settlement. It was just pastoral nomads were housed there, and they were occupied the site for a small period of time. But at the same time, there is a gap between that and the emergence of the Bronze Age. So see, when we say Chalcolithic and Bronze or Bronze Age Chalcolithic, so somehow it fits in the geography of Afghanistan because till further investigation, we solve this problem. For example, there is the gap of this 5,000 years. We get, I mean, the date. And then in 2400 or late 3rd millennium, there is the emergence of this demand. I mean, this Dashley oasis. So because the culture sequence there, it shows not earlier, dates can be taken from that. So that's why for Bronze Age, Chalcolithic or Chalcolithic Bronze Age. So you are totally right because we have to first chronologically you have to put the Chalcolithic according to the to the word opinion and what is acceptable to the people. But sometimes there are some examples that you get you get the continuous of Chalcolithic and then same time with the Bronze Age. What you will do in that case? So as I said, the nomenclature also is a problem in Afghanistan. So if, for example, there is a definite if in the future they will solve the problem of the Octal civilization and Hilton civilization, we will use these terms and terminologies, and we will avoid the Bronze Age Chalcolithic or Chalcolithic Bronze Age in Afghanistan. Or it would be better if we use the earlier terms like Mundigak culture or Dashli cultures or South Afghanistan cultures during the Bronze Age and North Afghanistan during the Bronze Age or Chalcolithic. So till future, so hopefully I will be able to find some solution in my PhD dissertation in this regard.
So the material is actually quite fantastic, I must say.
Yeah, quite fantastic. I have put only a few of them. Although there are many, but due to the time limit, as I said, we cannot discuss each and individual objects and artifacts.
Anybody else has
Any
questions?
other question? Suggestions?
For comments, concerns, we're going to put this
Yes,
all
yes.
online. Hopefully that'll be up in a few weeks. We have the answers to last month's questions that we'll also put online. We just received those. So if you're here for last month's lecture, we'll have those online soon as well. If you think of any questions in the coming couple of weeks, please feel free to email us and reach out, and we can, we have one from George here.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I was curious, the map that showed the locations of where the lapis was distributed from Egypt and all over. And on another slide, you mentioned the location of a lapis mine. Are you able to identify that all those lapis that's been found in other regions came from that one mine, or are there a number of lapis mines in Afghanistan?
Yeah, actually, very good question. So, till the moment, tin and lapis lazuli, which are suggested by scholars, based on the chemical analysis from the lapis objects which has been found in other area of great civilization. So they think that it came from Afghanistan, based on the chemical analysis, because and there was some other theory that there is another mine in Balochistan, but Mr. Randall Law, and he did a lot of investigation research in this regard, and finally he found that objects and also raw material of lapis lazuli, which was sold in Pakistan by the name of that it came from Balochistan, from the area of Balochistan. It was illegally exported from Afghanistan to this area, and then it was sold even in the modern time. So, but in the other part of like areas like in South America also, and also in there are and in some other parts at the moment. Sorry, I forgot the other sources of raw material of lapis lazuli. But scholars, they have mentioned those names as well, that probably it came from those sides. But based on the chemical analysis with the raw material from the mines of Sarisang in Afghanistan, and with those objects, it clearly they say that it came from this area. And also the presence of the archaeological sites in this region indicate this cultural interaction, especially the Peflul hoard, which I showed you. Only vessels, silver vessels, and also gold has been found there. So how it came there? And it has a lot of similarities with the other area of civilization in terms of motifs and patterns and techniques.
Thank you.
Most welcome.
Lapis
Any
lazuli
other question? Yeah,
Lapis
lapis
lazuli is an area of personal interest to me.
Mr. Eric is very interested in lapis lazuli. So.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for
And
coming.
one more thing regarding this lapis lazuli is to mention that, okay, since the ancient time, I mean, the trade was there, but around the site or around this area, no, particular sites has been found in order to indicate that these people were controlling the mining activity, because everyone was not allowed to come from other part of the great civilization, like say in the modern sense, that if someone wants to go to Afghanistan to extract the mine or doing the mining activities, it is not permitted according to the law, but at the same time, someone needs a local person to guide them in the site and to the mine to take him there. But if we compare this, with the past as well, there must have been some sites near the Lapis mine for mining activity. So hopefully the further investigation in this area will solve this mysterious thing. Because people, they have suggested, that Shortogai, the people of Harappan, which they went there, they had the control of the mine, but less raw material has been found at the site to indicate this theory. And also the distance between some Harappan sites with this Shotokai is too much. Like the mine is here and Shotokai is here. Like other sites in northern part of Pakistan is much closer to this mine rather than someone goes like by road. So now I have brought a line, only a direct line from from Sarisang mine to some sites of the Indus civilization. It is more than 1,800 kilometers or more than 500 kilometers. So how these people they were, so this is a direct, say for example on that time they were following different routes to go there. So these long distance trades needs further investigation, especially in this area. In other part of the world, it's clear that it is an outside item. It has been exported and it has come in civilization. But if we how it was exported and how it was extracted, so it needs a lot of further investigation inside or around the area of that mine in the future.
Any other questions? If no one has questions, I have.
Oh, yes,
Sorry.
yeah, no problem.
So this is an area of the world that I don't know well. I'm an archaeologist, but I'm an Africanist. So, and I did research in Portugal. So for this time period of Chalcolithic. So actually my question has more to do with the social organization of this time period. So you've been talking about trade and mining and so movements of goods, but do you have a sense of what was the social organization and at this point was already very hierarchical, or what was, obviously it was not egalitarian, but is there a sense of what could have been the social organization?
At the moment, because of this limited of excavation and old data or old types of interpretation, we don't know in this area, but from other sites like in Turkmenistan or other sites in Shares of that, some scholars, they have suggested that these kind of hierarchy that they were controlled. But if we, think of the distance between the mine and between the site, too much. So in this, in between there must be another thing. So that's why it is a little unknown, and also Lapis objects or material which has been found from Mundigak. It's not that much to indicate that these people had the control of this. And later on in the northern Afghanistan, this limited of excavation in the Dashli Wasis, so does not give us any further information to focus on this point, that what was the social organization, who are controlling these. Either it was hierarchy, or either there were movement of people who are coming into contact with these cultures. So they were, because by this time there were two types of settlement: the sedentary settlement and semi-sedentary settlement. So these, pastoral nomads, they were in contact with the settlers, and for sure these people were, the medium of the exchange, and those people who are coming in this area. So it was not a matter of like, today you go by your car and 1 or 2 days you will travel and you will take their. So if you will think of that time, is the people were going by foot. There was not even some animal if they were using, but how they were coming into contact with these people, and how was the social organization in order to control these trade activities, it is unclear. And so the size of the sites in northern Afghanistan, especially in the area of Bactria, so there are many other sites, but unfortunately some illegal excavation has been happening. Some grave goods from those areas going to the black market, and some has been returned back to Afghanistan. The size of these sites, like this Dashli Wasis, like a big kalas, nowadays we say there, like a citadel is there. So if the citadel is there, temple is there, that scholars and archaeologists, they have suggested these terms like temple or palace. So if in the future we will be able to go deeper into the site and find the lower phases of the occupation, and also to find the social activities of these people in that area, maybe we'll be able to answer this question, I mean, more accurately.
But you still have grave goods, and you have burials that because there was one slide where there was some sort of a metal, I don't know if it was gold, it looked kind of a gold ball that was kind of flattened with some holes. And I was wondering if that was actually material coming from graves that could be, you know, as in traditional archaeology, indication of some sort of hierarchies. And
Which one?
was one that before?
This one?
I don't. Yeah, that one exactly.
That one, yeah. What is the thing? So as I said, because of the time limit, I didn't went too much. I mean, the details of the site. So this the fifth floor, as I said, accidentally it has been the hoard was discovered by some farmers there, and it was what happened that these farmers, they started to, I mean, cut it into pieces in order to share their I mean. Maybe there were four, they've cut this into four pieces. So when the local authorities have been informed about this incident, so they taken this. But according to the excavator who excavated the site and visited the site in order to find the relationship of this hoard with the site, they were unable to find this. Because first of all, these items were broken, and other things, that this burial which was found there, it was without any artifacts, because those farmers, they said we found it here. So the actual provenance of this artifacts are unclear till now. But in the future, hopefully to find the site, because it's very important. If in one area this much of the hoard was there, definitely these people were the hierarchy of that area, and they were controlling the thing according to their social, I mean, values, having all these goals and all treasures. Yeah, great good, grave goods are there in other, I mean, in part of the Bactrian treasure. But what is the thing that I have not put here? Like, okay, some burials here have been found from this area of the Stashli Wasis, but because of this limitation of the, excavation at the site, and we don't have any clear evidence of this, but clearly in the area of Dawlatabad nearby, and also in Balkh, in today's ancient Bactria, in the Balkh province of Afghanistan, there are a lot of graves which has been like illegally excavated, and all those good graves have been found their way to the black market. Definitely, if we will, for example, be able to find some other graves in the future to excavate them archaeologically, then we will be able to know about the social organization and all this stuff. So for the moment, this much information we have regarding the Chalcolithic, Bronze Age, or Bronze Age Chalcolithic of Afghanistan. Hopefully, I will be able to do some chemical analysis of some of the existing data, and to find this mysterious thing in this area, hopefully in the future.
Great. Thank you everyone for coming. I saw Anne went and grabbed some chunks of lapis lazuli.
Yep.
If you can see Anne's
very good.
window, yeah.
Yes. Yes, it's a lapis from Afghanistan.
From Afghanistan. Okay, very good. So do you like this?
I'm a mineral collector.
So yeah. Where you bought this?
Huh?
Where did you bought this one? Did you buy this
In a
one?
mineral show. There is a lot of lapis in mineral shows now. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
And,
Yes. There are quite a few mineral dealers coming from Afghanistan.
Yes,
And
yes,
they
yes.
have a lot of lapis.
A lot of lapis. The stool is very interesting.
Uh-huh.
So, is it possible to ask you a question regarding the price of this? How much was this? I mean, this piece.
I bought it several years ago. I don't remember, but it was not very expensive. No.
Okay.
Is
Yes.
this
Not very good. It's not good enough for jewelry. There are too many veins of pyrite and quartz.
Yeah, exactly. And those people who are suggesting these trades, and trades are in the two ways. Like one trade in ancient time is the raw material itself, and the other thing is that finished items. So if we will be able to find any factory site of this inside Afghanistan or in the vicinity of area or in this region will be very helpful, because maybe some objects, say for example, if there are some jewelers in this area nearby the mining area in Badakhshan province, where I went there and I ordered some rings and other jewelries to that guy. So maybe like this type of activities were in the past. So an ethno-archaeological research would be also very helpful in this regard. So maybe people were coming and there, because some people are specialists in the manufacturing of those. I mean, if for example, you will give this piece to an Afghan expert there who are working in that area, they will be able to make a lot of jewelry out of this for you, or other things. Maybe a small ball they can make out of it. But for example, if you give it outside of the country and people who are not expert in the working on this material, so it will be a little difficult. They will broke this item.
Yeah. See, but the color is typical of Afghanistan.
Yeah, typical
There is
Afghanistan.
also
Yeah.
lapis from Chile, but it is pale.
Chile, yes, it's pale. The color is yeah, and the other characteristic
It's
is
easy
those
to recognize the lapis from
from Afghanistan. Yes, and also those golden lines. How to say it in terminology?
It's pyrite.
Yeah. This one.
Pyrite.
Yeah.
It's not gold. It's pyrite.
But I mean, like gold, which are looking like gold. That's why I didn't know the terminology of that.
It's pyrite, and when it's white, it's quartz.
Oh, quartz. Yes, it's quartz.
Yeah,
Yes.
quartz.
So this.
And when it's shiny, when it's shiny like that, it's pyrite. That's a sulfide iron.
Okay, great.
So can you actually do analysis, provenience analysis? That is it like obsidian? I know the case of obsidian that you can do like neutron activation analysis, and it's very clear where it comes from. And I was wondering if it's the same with lapis lazuli. It's the same.
Oh yes, in mineralogy, yes, you certainly can. Yes. You can tell exactly where rocks come from.
Exactly, yes, exactly. So that's why some chemical analysis of this lapis objects from other part of the civilization which has been found. So they compared with the lapis mine in Afghanistan. So that's why they are suggesting much more that it was coming from this area. Yeah, but it's interesting that you love this story, yeah? And there are 4 mines, because if the lapis will come from the mine fort, I mean, according to the local people, there are 4 mines. If it is coming from the 4th one, that is the best quality from the inner side. I mean, it is very blue, blue.
Yeah. Thank you.
Most welcome.
All right. I guess that concludes our lecture today. Again, this will be available online a few weeks from now, hopefully. And if you have any questions that you think of a week from now, please forward them to us, and we'll pass them on to our lecturer here.
Yes. I will be very.
What is the next lecture?
Our next lecture will be in, let's see, in January. I don't have the date right in front of me here.
Wait, I asked.
You're getting me in trouble. It'll be January 30th, and that will be Professor Dimitri Nakasis from University of Boulder, Colorado University of Boulder. And the lecture is titled Map is Not Territory, Culture, History, and Archaeology in the Aegean Bronze Age. So if you're interested in attending that, sign up for that. Latifi, you have some experience around the Aegean and the Bronze Age, so maybe you should come and ask a few questions.
Definitely, I will come. Definitely, I have visited those sites, and also I have presented paper in that Mycenaean citadel there about the Leon, say.
All right.
The
happy
gate,
holidays.
Yeah.
Right,
So happy holidays for all
everyone.
of you, and start a very good new year without this pandemic. Hopefully, we will not have next year. This COVID situation, 2021 will be a good year for all of us.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Holidays, everybody. Happy New Year. A better
Thanks
year,
for
please.
participating. Yes.
All right, goodbye. Have a nice afternoon or a nice evening wherever everyone is.
Yeah, here is midnight. Like it's almost 3 o'clock at night.
Night.
Okay, have a good evening.
Okay, bye bye.